Hey guys, I'm Matt Lighty, and this video is just going to be talking briefly about boss rushing for the current Atlas setup and what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what it's getting me. Pretty straightforward, right? So this we talked about in the last podcast, but I didn't really know about it, but there's a boss rushing strategy effectively that is taking advantage of hitting the cap on the additional connected maps from the small nodes. It makes your tree look really wonky. Your tree looks like this kind of. And long story short, you have a 30% base rate to connect additional drops, and then it gets up to 70% with all the nodes, which means 100%. So if you were to run a map, it would guarantee drop a connected map off that boss, right? So you guaranteed one map from one map, meaning you never run out of maps to stay. Now, if you do it in a region that always has nice connected maps and they're really easy to access for bosses, so probably the more optimal ones at the moment are coves and cemetery. You just walk into the cemetery, kill the boss, and it drops the coves. And then you walk into the coves, and it drops the cemetery. And you couple that with the chance to drop duplicated maps, meaning not only are you always getting a 1-to-1 return, but sometimes you're getting a 2-to-1 return. So if you start with one map, eventually you'll have millions, right, by this logic. Now, you do this for two reasons. One, because it's well, I guess only really one reason. You're doing it to gather things upon killing bosses. Now, what that thing is can be currency. It could be master missions. If you allocate all the points for the chance to grant the master mission, all those kind of add up and you'll get a lot of master missions, or chance to grant Keurig missions, all those add up, or even chance to get uniques from the bosses or things like that, or the free crafts from the Shape in the Skies. You're basically procking the chance to get things. And also you're procking the progression for things like your Eater of Worlds and your Searing Exile, which means you can get to, you can pretty much make Eater Worlds happen in unexaggeratingly about 20 to 30 minutes very consistently. Meaning if I were to stream 8 hours a day, I could do upwards of 16. If I'm really pushing for the day, I can do almost 20 Eater Worlds in a day if I was going crazy. And like skipping everything else and just killing the bosses and bouncing back and forth. Now, this is a very active playstyle, and it does not leave a lot to the imagination of what else to do. And if you ever have a fear of missing out as far as like passing content and not engaging with it, this is going to drive you fucking insane. But it's also great for things like dropping Conquer maps, or if you want to drop Elder Shaper maps, you can do that. Or if you want to, get intelligence gathering and get a bunch of safe houses. And it's also nice to have things that you could pass along the way if you do want to do I want to say a more casual method of doing this. You'll still clear the map in a minute, but it's a minute versus 30 seconds. And I have things like smuggler caches on, because if I see a smuggler's cache, I want to hit it. Same thing with the, the bounty target. So enough talking about it. There will be a description below. Will be a copy of my tree. And there's also a copy of the basic framework tree in the last podcast we did with Manny and Leggy. So if you want to see that, feel free to watch that. But let's just do a quick demo of what exactly this looks like. It's very straightforward. Now, the experience you get from this is not very high. So this is really just for procking, gathering Shaper Elder maps, Conqueror maps, procking events, procking progression of your Eldritch bosses, that sort of stuff. The experience is like mediocre. I'm level 98 and like 23%. And I did this yesterday and ran like hundreds of maps. I only got about maybe 18% experience, so it's not very much. But again, this is just for what it's exactly for. So let's do a coves here. We're gonna pop on in this coves and give it a ride. There is some, like, people have said there's tricks to like detecting where of the 4 quadrants and coves the boss is, but I haven't really found it to be consistent or really make sense at all. So I just tend to go right and then loop around. So you could kill a couple things on your way, but for the most part, you're looking for this shipwreck right here. That's where the boss is. You kill the boss, get your guaranteed cemetery, and then you leave. That's how fast it is. It's that fast. So I just did a coves, which means it's always going to drop cemetery. Why? Because that's the adjacent map, right? It could technically drop dark forest, although I never see it for some reason because it's not favorited. You split your favorites, right? And then it dictates from that system, and it's going to basically only pick one of these two. So you're bouncing between coves and cemetery. That's the gist of it. So there are another coves going in. I spent more time talking between now with the time I could have run a whole other fucking map. So let's go right again. Obviously, you want to have a build that's somewhat fast here. And you can kill as much or little as you want. And I would even suggest skipping the altars if you're trying to really zoom. So here's the boss again. Kill them both, grab my cemetery, and I'm fucking out of there. If you want a portal gem setup, you can have one. Put it on spacebar, slam it, fuck off. But it's this fast. This is actually how fast it is. Consistently pretty much this fast. So you can imagine the proc rate of things that like might seem quite low, kind of add up quite quickly. Even the things like intelligence gathering. That's 10 intelligence for random safe house. You need 100 intelligence for a safe house to get it full. So pretty much as you're doing this, every 10 maps you get one safe house, and the experience you get from this is actually quite nice for leveling, if not this character, alternate characters. So it's just a very chill method. I say it's chill. Again, it's extremely active, and every second you're not doing it is a second you're losing experience. So here I didn't get it as fast, but even the a little slower, the time it takes to loop around is not too shabby. There we go, and we are out of here. You know, even want to make a filter just for this, because it's a little bit maddening to have to use an actual filter for this, since you're going to be hearing drops off screen that you're not going to want to pick up because of time. That was a very quick one. Yep, so that was probably under 10 seconds from entering the map I killed the boss. Again, extrapolate this times whatever. That's the gist of it. This is really nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And look, I got my safe house already, so I can run that on my other character I'm trying to level. And bing, bang, boom, you're out of there. Basically, the way you get to it after like a day or two of doing this, you'll have enough maps that you could easily get 28 of one type. So if I ran 28 coves, that'll drop at the very least 28 cemeteries, if not more. And then I go do 28 cemeteries, and I get 28 coves. That way you could do them in mass. I roll them, and my character can only do... There's only 2 map mods I don't really want to do. It's Ellie Reflect for just because I kill myself, and no regen because it makes whirling blading slower. Aside from those 2 things, I can run every other map. So I just, you know, I don't craft them, I don't touch them, I only change them if they have those 1 or 2 things, and then that's it. And then you just zoom, and you will get experience. It's not terrible, but it's just not really good. Instead of getting 30 mil an hour, which I guess is okay, I'd normally be getting about 130 mil an hour if I was doing actual maps, but it adds up. And again, you're getting a lot of procs. If you wanted to get things like any of these, is nice. You want to get synth maps, it's nice. There are things you can get, but for the most part, I tend to just do it just for the yeah, in Eater World's progress. If you're trying to get Forbidden Flames and Flushes, it's going to be quite quick, or you can even sell them, etc. But this is a very particular playstyle. I just wanted to show you what it looks like, and whether it exists or not next league, I do not know. I don't think it's like particularly broken. It's not doing anything inherently disgusting. It's just a different playstyle path. It's a trade-off. Like everything else in this game, there is a cost, and the cost is both your physical, your hands, your sanity, and your experience, and loot is not going to be as good because you're not juicing or clearing, you're just killing a boss and repeating. So if you're looking for master missions, you're looking for you know, boss progression, you're looking for safe house, you're looking for any of these little things, like I have these little currency things, or these little map currency things, they do add up. You know, you run hundreds of maps a day doing this, and eventually you'll get you get stuff. You know, that's the name of the game. But yeah, let me know what you think, and try it out. Unmakings aren't very expensive, so to make your tree like this, feel free. And I will see you guys, yeah, see you next video. Lighty out.